Welcome to another edition of Live Interviews with the Journalist. And today I have a special guest, and he goes by the name Blanka Mazimela. So Blanka is one of my favorite, DJs slash producers, and yeah, man, he's a very talented DJ. So I thought I should invite him over for a chat today. So yeah, we're about to have a young chat with Mr. Mazimela in a bit. Shout out to you guys for joining us on this lovely Friday evening. Hi Fifi, thank you for joining us. Shout out to D-Flow, Refreka, what's up? Ah, Mr. Blanca,
Sir,
how are you, sir?
how are you, man?
I know I'm good, sir, man. How are you doing this evening?
Nah, I'm easy, man. I mean, under the circumstances, I think, yeah, things are cool. How's it going there?
Same here, brother, same here. Trying to
Hmm.
keep positive energies. I see you're in studio, and I'm assuming you're making music.
I am. That's the truth of the matter is I'm in studio. But yeah, like I've been making music. It's just a matter of I think I'd probably say lining them up now and just putting the whole thing together. There's a lot of music that has been made um, with the team and by myself. And I really think, like it's a pity Corona spoiled a lot of things, but I mean, it's a new start. So we might have some music, for the summer. Hopefully the summer will be on level one and we can obviously go back to doing the things that we used to do. But I think for then we'll have a lot of music ready.
Yeah, man, and thank you so much for joining us. I love the fact that you are working, you're already preparing for summer. And basically what I do on my page is that I just chat to some of my favorite DJs, producers
Hmm.
in the house industry, because I just feel like there are not enough platforms for people in this space to just, have conversations. There's a lot of people playing music and live streams are popping up everywhere, but we don't get to see
There are too much
conversations.
there are too much live streams. I think the biggest thing about the lockdown is that people actually got to see DJs so much more than what they'd see anything. Like on a Friday, a typical Friday, you're likely to watch someone DJing versus, I mean, obviously watching someone DJing in the comfort of your own home. But I mean, when you look at it, like there's so much that live streaming slash, the whole evolution of DJs actually sitting at home now and just playing music for the people and people actually enjoying it, versus, on the typical Friday, it's a Friday night, it's 7 o'clock, and normally people would be either be out and about. Now, obviously, they're at home, and the only thing that they can do is really enjoy themselves at home, and that's it.
I think that's interesting. I mean, I've always known that there are a lot of DJs in the country,
Mm.
and I know that you are a music teacher or used to be a music teacher, but you speak a bit about that. What do you think this means for the house music industry? We're seeing for the first time that there's actually a lot of DJs that actually can play. Everybody is like every second person has like gigs at home. Every
Mm.
second person can live stream from home, and it's like there's a lot to offer. So, what do you think this means for the industry as a whole?
Look, I think there's two things here. One being the actual influx or the amount of DJs that exist out there. There's quite a lot. But two, like the entertainment value, I think, that we put into our craft. Example being, a typical. a typical live stream, right? Like, I mean, a lot of people have done live streams of late. Um, but also, I mean, now is obviously the time to just showcase, some of the things that we do in studio, i.e., have a live show that is you actually sitting in studio and just, putting the elements to work and doing it live. And I think that's the other way. That there's obviously there's been a lot of, how do I put it? There's been a lot of like uncertainty regarding, like live streams being pulled down, i.e., if you're streaming on Instagram, um, you can't play certain songs for over a period of 90 seconds because your live stream will get pulled off. Same thing with Facebook also. When Facebook detects that you're playing, content that doesn't belong to you, they warn you, and then they either take your live stream off. Like, there's been those factors that have been coming into play that a lot of people have not been sort of aware about. But I really think, I mean, it's one of the things whereby it's now asking for more, for more of us to actually do more than what we normally do. I think it's a time for bedroom producers to shine more than anything. But then obviously with that in place also, you have to obviously have the gear ready. I think that's the one thing that a lot of people didn't have, was having all the gear ready. It's like
Mm.
we never knew what it would be like, because we thought we're just going into like a short lockdown. Things are going to go back to normal. We didn't know that it was going to be. I don't even know what day we're on right now. I know it was barely. So, but I mean, it was supposed to be a 21-day thing, and it ended up being, it's close to 2 months, if I'm not mistaken. And the biggest thing in this whole period was for people to actually have content ready.
Yes.
And I think that's the difference. I mean, you were looking at this. I think I'm looking at this in a year or two. Obviously, the industry has been disrupted quite a lot, because a lot of people have, like, things have changed, and things are not going to be normal when we go back to normal, if I can put it like that. Because,
Mm.
like,
And
yeah.
yeah, I'm just curious. So now when you play music on Facebook and Facebook says, this is a copyright music, what then do you do? What are other alternatives for DJs? If
Look, the only other alternatives, this is just something that has worked for me. One, I try and stay away from the big tracks, i.e., the tracks that are like very big commercially, that are known all around the world. Also, the tracks that have been affiliated with major labels. For instance, I know that Sony, I know that Universal Music Group, Warner Brothers, and I forgot the fourth one. But as soon as the music is affiliated to those particular labels, like, it flags it immediately. So, like, I play a lot of either underground content. Most of the time, it's indie record labels, so they don't have, the whole. They don't send their music bank to Facebook, where Facebook obviously has, control over who plays what and so forth. It's happened a lot. I think that's the one thing that a lot of people were not prepared um, of, because, I mean, if you're playing unknown stuff that is not going to be on any database, there's a high chance that you're going to finish your stream and you're not going to have any problems. But if you're playing, like, well-known music, and I mean, people actually know that, like, a song like, let's just say, a Dennis Ferrer, Hey Hey, um, there's a high chance that song was big. There's a high chance that Facebook is going to flag that song. And yeah, that's the other thing. I think the other issue is obviously, is that Facebook doesn't have a way of monetizing it. They're making a way of monetizing it, but obviously, if you're going to make money from something, then you have to protect. It's similar to YouTube. You can't claim money from posting other people's content. And that's the one way that Facebook is obviously trying to say, okay, cool, we'll protect the people that produce the music and so forth by making sure that we're barring anyone that is, illegally, not illegally. I mean, DJs, it's not like we play music and we say, okay, this is for me. We're playing music for the people. So
Mm,
it's just one thing that I think, Facebook has not actually, they were also not prepared for the influx of DJs going online, going on live streams and stuff, and the amount of people that were actually looking for that type of content. It's something that has been there, but it hasn't been used as much as they've obviously they've used it now. So
mm,
yeah, long story short, I think producers, DJs just need to ensure that either you play your own content also. Like I think there's no better time
mm,
than now to actually play content that is your own,
mm.
because it actually allows people to actually get to know who you are. Like even if it's studio stuff, you're working in studio, there's a song that you're working on, etc., etc.
Mm. Yeah, and that's actually very good insights, that people should play their own music, and even not even just your own music, your collective, people that you hang around with, other
Yeah.
producers,
Mm.
and that's one way of avoiding your music being bad on Facebook for now. Yeah, talking about your own music, man, you have a very unique style when it comes to your music. It's house music, but it's distinctly South African, you know. And I can tell, just me as a fan, I can tell that you're not necessarily trying to please everyone, but you know that once someone, follows your music, they're gonna be a fan. So, what's the inspiration behind your sound specifically?
Look, I think the first real reason why I write music is to sort of send messages to people that that probably influenced me in a way. Um, I really write my music from a point where it's like, listen, this is just something that I wanna do for myself, type of thing. Um, and then I think it comes together at the end when you obviously have this whole skeleton put together, and now the skeleton is obviously coming into life, and you just need to add, like the small little bits to obviously just make the whole thing complete. And the biggest thing about that is I really write from a place of authenticity. Like I have influences, a lot of influences that obviously you can hear in my sound, but the reality of that whole thing is that it's just a piece of art. It's a piece of me, without sounding cliche, but it's a piece of me that I put into the music. And there's no particular way that I'd actually put it. I was listening today to um, to Dakako's latest release, and
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, this is if you don't know Da Capo from 10 years ago and you listen to the music now, you'd actually be like, this is this is who we actually I sort of started when I started to play a long time ago. Like guys like Da Capo were the guys that were sort of like instrumental in a specific type of sound,
Mm-hmm.
and they've kept it constant for all that time. And when he actually released today, I was like, you know what? Like, there's no other way than releasing music that is really true to yourself and authentic without trying to sound cliche. Yes, you want your songs to play on radio. Yes, you want your songs to be played by big DJs, but ultimately, the thing that sleep at night is probably that's you. Because the thing is, you can make something that is for the people. The people can like it, but you can hate it. There's been a lot of cases and a lot of guys that don't like the music that they make, but unfortunately they've made that music. So for me, it's really something that I look at my music from a point. I still do, because I'm obviously based in Cape Town, but when I drive home to the Eastern Cape back and forth, so I can do a trip in a day. Like I can literally go to go home to the Eastern Cape and come back the same day type of thing. So I enjoy driving. That's one of the things that I really enjoy, except for driving to Joburg. I would never drive to Joburg ever, ever again in my life. I did that once, and
Yeah. From
listen,
Cape Town.
from Cape Town to here,
Yeah.
um, and and the thing is, I was driving alone with with the whole crew of guys in the car, and look, it was a cool trip. But when you obviously you drive from there to here, and then you have the show the following day, like the whole day before the show, you're literally just sleeping because that's how tired you are. And then the whole trip is obviously it comes full circle when you have to go back to Cape Town and you realize that okay, cool, now the shows are over. Now I have to go back on the road, and everyone else is having a party. They're enjoying it because no one is driving, and you're the one that has to literally make sure that you're awake. And yeah, anyway, I'd never do a trip to Joburg again. That's a fact. But besides that, like I spent long hours on the road, and the biggest thing that has always influenced me was the type of music that you want to play when you're on the road. There's a certain type of music that you'd play, and it's like there's just a certain way that it makes you think, and it makes the whole trip pleasant, and I think that's for me more than anything. It has been trying to make drive music, music that you can drive to, music that you can listen to on long trips. And I've done long trips on the road, and it's always been one of those questions in my head that what would be the perfect song that I'd actually play um, when I'm going home or on my way home. Now, this again, I think it was 2015 or 20 between 2015 or 2014, right? So I was in East London. I'm from Etutjwa in the Eastern Cape. So I was in East London, and from there to Dutja is like an hour and 15 minutes. And predominantly in the Eastern Cape, a lot of people are just hitchhiking. Like they hitchhike everywhere. So I was part of those hitchhikers, and this girl was driving from PE to Port Shepstone, and she was like obviously giving me a lift. Now, what happened on the road was she actually played a song, um, a Ryan Murgatroyd song. She was playing it in a car, and it was weird. And I was like, "So do you know this guy?" She's like, "Listen, this guy, I don't know him, but he makes some fire music. I've been playing some of his songs on repeat all the way from PE." Um, and it was Bantwanas piano. No, was it
Oh, I
Bantwanas
love
piano?
that song.
I think it was either Bantwanas piano or Ikalimba, one of the two. But my thing was, so what makes you? So now it got in. Obviously, it started a conversation, and I was like, "What makes you listen to this music so much?" It's like she's like, "No, listen, like for me, working and doing stuff like driving and all of that, this is the only music that actually makes me do all of that. And funny enough, that's when I was like, you know what, like nothing against anyone. I'm just gonna make music that I really want to sit back one day and play on vinyl and be smoking a cigar on a Sunday. And this is the type of music that I really want, to leave my legacy with. And that's the only thing. I mean, I don't know what it's gonna be, but I really think that for me, it's just about getting a true sense of my authenticity, when I actually write music. It's just from a real place. I'm not trying to write because I'm trying to chase a number one hit. If it does become a number one hit, then it just means that it was made, like from a real place where
Mm.
I was not trying to chase times. I was not trying to do things because everyone is doing them and so forth. And I think that's for me the biggest inspiration behind the music. And then obviously I've got forefathers. I've got my grandfather who passed on 2014, and he was like a very big instrumental person in a lot of things of my life. And in most cases, like I'd spend a lot of time with him, and it's more inspired by him, like in a studio
Mm.
session, when I go into a studio session, it really just comes from there. It's almost as if he's in a space with me wherever I go. And he's like a
Mm.
buddy that I don't see, but who's like, you know what, okay, cool. This sounds cool. I'd really love this. Hence, for instance, the song, there's a song called Twanini.
Mm.
And
Yeah,
with
one of my
Twanini,
favorites.
and yeah, Twanini, basically that's what I called him. And that's one of the reasons why I'd say, I probably write music. It's just a piece of, it's like therapy, like you get to sit down, either play the piano. If I listen to the piano being played by someone else, like there's things that I hear, I pick up, and I obviously enjoy from that. And even hearing other people play, there's a lot of things that comes with actual instrumentation and getting all that together. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's basically what.
Wow, man, that is a very great answer, well put, and I understand your music better now. And just to add on to your answer, I'm from Northern Cape in a small town called Warrenton, which is about 5 hours away from Joburg. And
Okay.
we also have the hitchhiking culture there. But so I relate to your story. But anyway, so when I heard Gwanini for the first time, I was driving from Warrington to Joburg, it took me about 4.5 hours. And I kid you not, like half the time I was playing Gwanini, and I was just like, damn, this song it gets better every time. And I'm a Joanna speaking dude. So
Mm,
I mean, I understand. I kind of get what the song is saying. I kind of get the emotion, but I was like, damn, I wonder what they're talking about. And for me, there's that part of the song where Sobantuan Nokora sings and then Sobantuan joins in, and I thought
mm.
they wrote the song. I didn't know that you wrote the song. So yeah, man, I
So
think you're the right person to ask. Like, what is Gonini really about? Because I feel a lot of sadness in the song, a lot of closing, but also a lot of praise.
uh,
So I don't know if it's a
there's
celebration or
it's
if
all
it's
of the
if we're mourning
it's actually
something.
all of
So
yeah
yeah.
it's all of the three. One being the just I think finally coming to terms with the fact that, okay, cool, my grandfather is really no longer going to be at home when I get to the Eastern Cape. That's one of the things that for me it always felt like whenever I'm home, it's always as if he's going to appear. Now the funny bit about it is that, so with when we sat in studio, we sat with chorus in initially, and it was like, look, guys, like when I spoke to them, I was like, guys, this song is really just about like just telling a story to someone that you really care about, and just praising that particular person. Then Andile from chorus it came with the part where he was like, thina nto singajonga ngecaleni okwezembe izolo so he came out with that part, and then I was like, but he was singing it sitting on the couch, and I was like, wait, just do that again. And then he sang it, and then I think there were five or six of us in the studio, and then everyone was like, okay, we get what you were trying to say about the meaning behind this whole thing. It's not just it's not just us coming up with lyrics. What does it mean to you? For me, Ukwanini meant a lot to me in terms of me praising him, because again, as I said, he was someone that was very instrumental in my life. You know, um, and I think in his course, I would say uyambulela umntu, for things that they've taught you, the direction that the person that they've made you to become, and my grandfather did a lot of those. I mean, obviously my parents and so forth have also been, but I think I take a lot from him. I look like him, but also in terms of mannerisms, in terms of, his humility, I take from him quite a lot. So it was one way to obviously praise him. Um, and obviously to close it. And I think, what was the third one? I forgot the third one. But um, in all, just rounding it up, it was more of a praise song more than anything. And then I think it was later. So Bantwana was in town, and she was literally leaving town, and she was on her way to I think she was on her way to a bus or something. And then it was like a matter of hijacking that route and be like, listen, just one line. And immediately when we played it, she actually connected with it immediately. She was like, okay, cool, I'm ready to record. It was not even 2 minutes in the studio. And we just played it, and the song went, and she was like, okay, cool, I know what to sing. And then she went in the booth, and she just, I think more than anything, if you listen to most of the songs that I've worked on, you'll get a sense that there has to be a connection between the vocals and the instrumentation, but that connection has to really be, it has to resonate so deeply that when you are actually listening to the instrumental, you actually miss the vocal. But at the same time, if you listen to the vocal alone, you'd actually be like, okay, cool. Now I get what that instrumentation was about, i.e. the piano, whatever you play. So I think that's the first part about me recording vocals, is that there's no ways of me recording a vocal that doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
It has to really mean something to, to what I'm working on, or to what the instrumentation is trying to get across. 2014, we wrote Upezulu, and again, it was literally written right after my grandfather's funeral. I came back from the funeral a week later, and I was like, you know what? There's just something, and we sat down with Konaye, and I was like, if you've ever been in a space where you really want to just be grateful to someone, but this person is someone that, has been there for you through thick and thin and so forth, then how would you translate that, without being, specific, i.e., if you're writing, let's just say gospel music, then uzobulela uThixo, and if you're writing a specific type of genre, you're more specific, i.e., R&B, it's going to sing about love, immediately you know that, okay, cool, this is just a love story and so forth. So without being like specific, where this message can apply to anyone, it can mean that there's no one like him. This him can be your brother, this him can be your sister, this him can be your mother, your father, your grandfather, Utito himself. So the message being open to translation from so many things that you can immediately like come into the song and be like, okay, cool. It's not speaking about love. It's speaking about something that I can actually relate to. So in many ways, I really think that's one of the things that I've tried to just get across in my music, is trying to make sure that, there is a degree of being authentic. There is a degree of making sure that it's not just, you're not just writing a piece of music because you're writing a piece of music. There's just something deeper and meaningful. For me, my music, when I look back at all the songs, I can actually sit and be like, you know what, even I can listen to the song 5 years from now. Like Pezulu, I still play. Um, and even now, this day, there's still a lot of people that are getting introduced to Pezulu, for example, and the questions and all the the various questions that come up is what was the whole story about Upezulu, because people can tell that there's a story behind it, and I think
Yeah.
that's where my music comes from, is that it really comes from a place where when I walk into studio, it's not just me saying, okay, cool, I need to write a song now. Like I have to really be in a space to write that piece of music. But at the same
Yeah.
time, when I'm writing a piece of music, it really is something that is talking about whatever state that I'm in, and that's it.
Wow, man, and every time I play, and I'm gonna ask you about the Bantwana movement or Bantwanas or that movement because I'm still
Hmm.
trying to figure out exactly what's happening there. But I was gonna say that when I play Bantwana's piano, every
Mm,
time I play that song, at least two people come to me. They're like, "Yo, what's that song?"
mm,
Because I
mm.
can tell it really speaks to people. And, which brings me to the question, the Bantwanas, the movement, you guys create a different type of music, which is very dope. And you just explained, what the music is all about. But tell me more about the movement. Is Bantwanas a movement? Is Bantwana a person? What's going on? Like, yeah.
Okay, so Bantwanas is basically it's more like a band. I put it in that category because there's a lot of members that contribute to the whole crew, if I can put it like that. So we've got one, two, three, four. There's four vocalists. There's a guitarist. There is a drummer. Then there's Ryan. Then there's me. You know, so it's like a whole electronic music band, if I put it like that. But the biggest part about that is that obviously everything is live, so it's as though you'd go to a live concert. You'd see a full band, a full piece band, but the only difference is that we play live sets, if I can put it like that. And it's like in essence, like there's a lot of things that I think in the path of me writing and making music, when
Mm-hmm.
it actually happened, it was more about um, working with people that can sort of either see the vision long term. When I met Chorus, for example, the crew, I met them in 2011. And again, like they really blew my mind when I started hearing. I'm big with harmonies and recording. I really love recording, because I believe the voice is something that can just send like a deeper message than in more than any other instrument. So
Mm-hmm.
when I met those guys, it was more of, okay, cool, these guys can actually do this, and I can actually record a whole lot of things with them. And then they started spending a lot of time in studio with me. And then they started, for instance, Ryan started hearing them. Ryan started just sampling and recording certain sections for his songs also. Um, and I think that's where the one sort of like working together part came about. Um, and obviously, I spent a lot of time, under the mentorship of Ryan. So naturally, I'd bounce ideas off him, and
Mm-hmm.
I'd listen to some of his stuff, and also he'd bounce ideas off me. And I think it went into more of a natural progression from there, where I think it really just translated. And then um, I don't know, like it's just one of those weird things that when you make music with certain people, there's a certain element and certain energy that people have naturally, where you can sort of either pick my brain when I'm playing something, and I don't have to be like saying I'm playing this. You can sort of go with me when I'm doing something and stuff. And I think that's uh, that's one of the key, you know, um, I say the key things that you'd get in a Bantwana's live show. And obviously, our manager Jared put the whole thing, together. And I think what he also saw was was probably something that we couldn't see is the fact that if you'd put all of this together and say write music, it would probably it would probably be I don't know, but that's how that movement came about. A lot of the vocalists that I've worked with, Konaye, Chorus, Koli, Sobandwana, are basically guys that have been contributors in the whole crew that is Bantwanas. And then we have a guitarist, for example, Akinwale, and he also like he's come into the fold and he's seen that okay, cool, this is actually how these people jam and stuff, and he's I think he's come into shape with the energy that everyone has. And then we obviously have a drummer by the name of Donna, and again, like it's people that I think understand the sort of like the Donna's a natural drummer. He's a drummer by profession, and when he came, immediately he just stuck like glue, and I really think that is one of the things that sort of makes it different to any other thing is that people have obviously come in naturally into this whole thing, and the contribution that they bring into the crew is
Mm-hmm.
is of a it's not like we're trying something, we're just making music. It's
Yeah.
probably it's a long process though, dude. Like I'd say if there was anything, the music making part is, yeah, like it's just there's days where the music comes out very quickly, then there are days where it's just like, and I guess it's probably one of the things that you have to get used to with making music is that there's no um like there's no fixed way of actually having a formula that runs, because you're working with creatives, and creativity doesn't flow like a tap. You can't just open and be like, okay, I'm creative, and close it and then stop it. Like it's influenced by a
Yeah.
whole lot of things.
Yeah.
So it's one of the things that is probably like the more frustrating part of the whole thing. But I mean, then again, in the end, when the music is out and the people are actually translating it and they're actually enjoying the music, it just you come back and you're like, okay, cool, it was worth it, because people actually enjoy what we
Yeah.
sit in studio and we argue about and we disagree and we go back and forth and try and get it to a point where it's 100%. And then even when you get to 100%, you're like, nah, it's not. You go back. Like there's a whole process,
Yeah.
and I think we're also working with perfectionists that really are like very like, if I don't like something, then I'm gonna be like, I don't like it. Then let's go back to finding it and making it and refining and stuff. So yeah, the crew that I have is probably the best crew, because they are as dedicated sometimes as I am, and even like I think that's one of the biggest things that I've learned, from working with Ryan, is paying attention to detail, but also like working something. Like if you have a let's just say a drum loop, it can't end at a drum loop. You can work a drum loop. If you have a vocal, you can't just say that's the vocal, that's it. You can really work a vocal and milk a vocal for what it has to actually get the desired result. And that's through really just getting into it and getting into the loop and actually hearing it 1,000 times until you hear the specific one thing that just gives the vocal like the new edge. And I think
Yeah.
that's it. Like it's working with a crew of people that are like that, And it just gives you more inspiration to obviously work a bit harder. But yeah, like the Bantwanas crew, so we're releasing music as the crew. We had collaborations with Something Soweto. We've done releases on All Day I Dream. Um, and yeah, we've got remixes from Kususa. And I think also it's just one of the things where it's just a love project, you know.
Yeah.
So more than anything, you actually want to, yeah, you actually want to be, I think, you know, you want to be in a studio session with Mandwana so you can see the energy and feel the sort of like the whole thing.
Yeah, yeah. I'm hoping that, soon after the lockdown, I'll be able to come with a crew and maybe do like a young behind the scenes type of story. You know what I mean?
Mm, mm.
And but while we're still on the Bantwana topic, Bantwana's piano. Who's the vocalist that's singing there?
Is it Nonko? Ne? Yes, it's Nonko, I think. Yeah,
Because
it's Nonko.
I think that song is pretty genius, because the way it starts and then the vocals just come in and then you hear the piano and then you're like, whoa, what's going on here? I think it's a brilliant song. And it's a simple song, but yet it's also very musical and deep, and you can hear that it was made by people that really understand music. So shout out to the vocalist, man. You know?
Nah, look, Nonko's, yeah, she's very talented. She's on another level in terms of her vocal abilities and her writing. I recently posted something and I was like, you know what? The biggest thing that's missing in South Africa at the moment is writers, you know, like people that genuinely write music. And it's one of the things that separates, you know, a lot of musicians, because if you're really writing from a place, then it will always be translatable or translated by many other people, you know. Take take I don't want to compare, but take a person like Msaki, for example. You know, she's probably one of the best writers out there. Take someone like Ezonke, for example. She writes, you know, and there's a list, but my thing here is with writing, you know, the biggest thing that you're taking home to someone who's listening to your music is that they get to translate that message, you know. And with translating that message, it really brings the music more home, you know, versus the music being on the dance floor and you hearing the song on the dance floor and it ending there, you know. And that's for me, that's probably the other part about me writing music is probably trying to write music that people can really take home, you know. Someone that can open up, you know, their, you know, what normal people, I don't know, I don't listen to music, but if you open up your radio on a Sunday, for example, what do you wake up and do? Like that whole process of knowing that you were out at a party last night and you definitely don't want to hear a song that you heard in the club, and you actually just want to, just if you want to play some good music, you want to relax to that good music. And that's the type of music that I really, when you say paint a picture of the music that that you make, that's the type of music that I make. Cigar on a Sunday or a glass of gin with some watermelons and and a couch and a patio, and you're just chilling and the music is just playing in the background, and you literally are like, you know what, come Monday, I'm back to normal and I'm back on the grind, whatever you are on. But that's for me how I look at people, you know, consuming my music. It's a bonus when it gets on the dance floor. It really is a bonus when it gets on the dance floor. But more than anything, if someone can translate and relate to the story that I'm trying to tell, then that's for me, that's the biggest win, you know.
Yeah. And Gus Brown is agreeing with you, and he says that I always think of Whitney Houston. She never written a song in her life, and yet we know her voice. She focused on her strength, which is to sing. Yeah,
Mm.
God has a very good point there. Sometimes just because you're a strong vocalist does not necessarily mean that, you're good with the
You
pen
can.
game.
That's actually one of the arguments that a lot of people don't want to let go of is saying that I can do everything. You know, like I've let go of that whole mentality that I can do everything. I.e., that's why it works so well with the whole Bantwanas crew. Is that when I map out the drums and I actually need an extra pair of drums. There's Udonna who's going to play the drums and be like, you know what, add this rhythm, add this rhythm. And with that, you know, with collaboration, there's more that you gain versus you trying to max out everything, i.e., be the writer, you know, be the vocalist, and be sort of like everything. And whereas if you just the vocalist and you can get someone to tell your stories or write for you, that's still something. And I mean, in a lot of ways, in the States, it's something that is very standard. I mean, Beyonce has a team of writers that write for her, but that's because now it allows Beyonce to focus on what Beyonce can do vocally, and that's to translate all the writing into what she can do vocally, you know. And I mean, it doesn't mean that you're not going to be able to write certain songs and stuff, but there's that whole aspect that there are writers, there are storytellers, and then the vocalist would be the people that translate that story for the masses, you know. And I mean, look, maybe 2, 3, 4 years from now, it's probably going to be, you know, it's probably going to be something that people get to be accustomed to. But I mean, now it's still new, you know, and that's what I'm saying. When I like the story of, for instance, you know, like this, you know, when you admire someone so much that you literally sit and you're like, okay, cool, like this person really writes. Her music comes from a real place. I was flying from East London to Cape Town, and on the plane, funny enough, I know Msaki, ne? And so she's walking in front of me and walking into the plane. And I'm like, I hope she's not going to sit where I'm sitting. And she literally sits right next to me. On the
Mm-hmm.
plane from East London, that's an hour and 15-minute trip from East London to Cape Town. I was
Yeah,
literally shaking, trying to be like, hey, Msaki, like, I'm making music also. And I was so scared because it's like, it's probably the highest level of admiring someone. But that's
yeah,
because the music that she makes, it was not even me trying to be like, she's making house, I'm making house type of thing. It was literally because she's a very good writer. And I was like trying to not come across as like a fan, but also not come across as a producer, DJ trying to get like a collab or something. But
yeah.
the biggest thing there was that I understood, you know, her stories that she was telling. And I wish I could actually, you know, be like, okay, it's like, this is the reason why I want to have a chat with you type of thing, because I really believe very much in your writing abilities and in your storytelling. And anyway, the long story short is I didn't speak to Msaki at all,
Ha!
at all. Like, I
Nothing.
was a
Not even
guy.
like.
Listen, to make it even worse, I was so embarrassed because I walked in the plane with KFC, you know. So I had KFC in my hand, and I'm like, ish. So I'm gonna be this guy who's gonna open KFC, and then Usagi, I'm gonna be like, Usagi, like, I love your music, and then she's gonna be like, oh, thank you, and then I'm gonna be like, uh, okay, I want to work with you. And then she's going to be like, okay, you're the guy that's eating KFC. And so like, I never spoke with her at all. Like
Oh, wow.
it was so weird that immediately when I landed, I called my manager and I was like, you won't guess who I was actually sitting next to. And he's like, who? I was like, I'm sitting next to Msaki. And he's like, okay, so what happened? Did you chat to her? And I was like, I froze. I froze for an hour and 15 minutes. I couldn't say anything at all,
Yeah.
you know? And that's probably because I really admire her music and stuff. And I really think, you know, she really writes from a good place, you know. But long story short about all of that is that um yeah, man, like writers are probably the biggest, you know, for me, the biggest influence when I really go into a studio is when someone is really telling an authentic story. And yeah,
Uh, God says you should have offered her a drumstick, just to say, yo.
Listen,
Somebody
and
says Igwa Baba, but you know what? As a guy, I relate. Sometimes, you know, you are like, you admire someone, and then you just can't do it, man. But I think you guys would have made beautiful music together.
now look,
I just
hopefully the worlds will connect, or whatever that saying goes. The stars will align. But more than anything, I really am a fan, but I'm a fan from a point of, understanding and being a musician myself, and writing music and knowing what goes into the whole process of writing your own music and really being like super, not trying to be creative or anything, not trying to like to like get something that's going to be catchy for this particular period in time. Just writing music from a real authentic place, that's that's probably one of the biggest things that I try to focus on is
mm,
is really trying to get in a space with producers, musicians, vocalists, and get into a space where we are really writing music from just more a place of being more authentic, and being real and telling those stories, albeit sadness, be it happiness or whatever, but telling a story that makes someone who's sitting at home, literally understand what your story is, So hopefully, look, I'm putting it out to the world now. If
I know
hopefully, if
it's gonna
Msaki
happen, bro.
if Msaki happens to bump past this this live
Interview.
thing, this interview, hopefully this part is the part that that she gets
Yeah.
to listen to, and then maybe I won't be the guy that chickened out on either talking to her, greeting her, and opening up a KFC next to her and stuff, So who knows, man?
Did you eat the chicken in
I
the plate
didn't
or?
eat the chicken. I was scared because Sagi is sitting next to me, so no
Oh wow.
chicken. Like
Yeah,
I
I know.
literally remember at one point I acted as if I was busy on the phone because I was so nervous. My phone was off, but I was on the phone, you know? So
Ah,
you can imagine, man, you can imagine how heavy
yeah,
it is, But that's probably because, I mean, for me, it's amongst a lot of vocalists that sit on my list of people
mm,
that I'd probably love to work with. She's high up there, She's high up
yeah,
there with Uzonke, for example. It's the same thing with Uzonke. I'd probably be chicken out if I'd probably see Zonke anywhere because again, she's a writer. She's a good vocalist, but the stories that she speaks about and she tells and stuff are really like she really spends time in her craft and she really appreciates her craft, So
mm.
anyway,
Yeah, man.
yeah,
Uh, Gat Brown will probably make the connection because he's in the space. He's also a vocalist as well, and then he also
okay.
works in the space in for one of the big labels.
Oh,
Actually, I'm gonna
cool.
say it. He's the man at Warner. That science niggas there. So God, hey man, do the
Hey,
things
see,
that make
see, do the things that make things happen.
yeah make
Uh,
the pods happen. Uh, the whole life TRP says Blanka is the goat. Yeah, man, I completely agree, bro.
nice one.
We've got a few minutes left. I noticed, when you were playing one of your sets in one of your videos online, you were playing only with one deck and I think a laptop, but it was a different setup. And I noticed that the kick, your set was very seamless, you know. And I
Okay,
noticed that Ryan also plays a similar way. So, and then also there are debates in the house music culture about, using technology. The purists say, no, no,
mm.
no, you must play
Must
with
play on vinyl. Must play on
vinyl and you must beat pitch
look,
control.
mm,
Those politics.
yeah.
So what's your view on that?
Okay, so for me, right, there's an argument that comes at a later stage, but in my whole career, my biggest drive was me exposing myself to all the instruments that I'm going to use from vinyl, knowing how to master and play vinyl. It's a pity that I sold all my vinyls, and I actually regret it today because I'd want to have my vinyls back. But secondly, it would be ensuring that you understanding the equipment that you're using. You can't play a piano and not know musicality and music theory and understand music theory. You can't play CDJs and not understand how they function and work. You can't play turntables and not understand how they function and they work. So there's probably different scenarios for different spaces. For instance, if I'm showcasing more of my studio stuff, then I'm using Ableton Live. And what Ableton Live does is that it literally takes all your separates in a studio file and you program it on Ableton. And then it's as if you are in studio and you're just sampling and playing all the separates at a time. But now what it does is that you can actually mix your songs, all those separates. You can move from one song to the next song and move from another song to the next song and so forth. So that's the reason for Ableton Live. For Ableton comes with Bantwanas because it's a whole live thing. So we have to be using Ableton. And then for my DJ sets, I mean, it's just like a typical CDJ. But give me vinyls, probably I'll show you that, I can do the things that can be done with vinyls also. And that's probably because, I mean, again, my biggest drive was ensuring that I'm exposed and I know how to use all of the items that I'm given. Like if you really give me turntables, I'll play and I'll show you how to use an SL 1200 or SL 1210s. And the reality of that is because I think I've programmed myself in such a way that I don't just limit myself to understanding one thing. Like I'm very like I want to know about things because if I look at a piece of gear, take this Moog for example, like I want to know how it works. I don't just want to see it and be like, oh, okay, cool. Like for me, putting it to use is one of the biggest things that gets me to yeah, man, like gets me to understand that something is constantly going to evolve. Now, the last part of that is music is made from a computer. So when people say that music can't be played on a laptop, blah blah blah, and all of that, what are they using to make music? Because they
Yeah.
use the software, Fruit Loops, Cubase, Reason, or whatever they're using on a PC, and then they make the music, and that music is then converted into a particular file format, and then it gets played out there either on vinyl, CD, or whatever. But the biggest crux is that a computer was used to program and compose and make that piece of music. Now you're saying the same computer, it can't be used when you want to play the music. Like, look, if you can't play using virtual DJ, and you can't play live, then it's one of those things. It's not a computer, it's the person, because even on virtual DJ, there's sync. You can press sync. If you can't sync when there's a sync button there, then it's just one of those things. I think it really is just taking note that the whole argument is based on purist. Yes, and I believe I was once that guy that was a purist and was like, we only play
Yeah.
vinyl in this crew, and those guys that are playing from CDs, they're not cool because Tina, we play from vinyl. And then we moved on to CDs and we're like, no, those guys that are playing from USBs are not cool because they're playing from USBs. Like, it's constantly gonna evolve. It's probably gonna go to such a point where people are gonna be DJing from their phones. And then
Yeah.
what's gonna happen there? So for me, I'm
Uh,
just saying, music is made
one
from a
minute left,
PC.
man.
1 minute,
Sorry to
okay,
cut you.
cool,
1 minute left.
cool. Now, no, let's jump to the next question, last question.
No, no, no. I was just saying, just to. Is there anything else that you want to add? Because it's gonna cut us off any minute now. Anything
Okay,
that I didn't ask? I know you just
uh,
dropped the EP.
I've dropped two EPs. They all out on digital platforms. I have an album coming out. That's a compilation. But collected a whole lot of producers from around the country. That's coming out in August. And then I might have another EP for the end of the year. And then we have Bantwanas music that's also coming out in the next coming months. So yeah, look out for that. Cool,
All
man.
right,
Thanks
man.
for having me, bro.
Thank you so much for the interview. I'm gonna post it on my wall. Thanks for your time, man. We really appreciate you. We appreciate your talent. Keep making more music. And yeah, man,
Thank you,
thank you
man.
to everybody that watched the interview. So yeah, thank you guys. Good night. Take it easy. Enjoy your weekend.